My name's Connie McDonald. I'm Assistant Director for the Center for Career Development. Today we're going to be talking to you about Resume Writing 101.
And my name is Frank Gilmore, and I'm another one of the assistant directors at the center, and I'll be joining in today also. The first point I'd like to discuss with you today is, a couple of points to keep in mind about how to capture and develop an effective resume. An effective resume is going to present a very brief, well-organized, concise summary of your developing professional background. This summary needs to showcase your skills and experiences that are directly relevant to the position that you are seeking. And if successful, it's going to convince the employers to interview you based on the match that you've created in their mind.
The key points you want to consider before you begin to even write your resume is you want to think about the organization's needs. So you're going to want to target what the organization is looking for and make sure that that's indicated on your resume. Your resume should reflect what you've learned, what you've achieved, and what you've produced. And it's also imperative that you research the company and its industry and be sure to tailor your resume for both. You can do research by coming to our office and meeting with a career counselor. You can go to the company's website. You might want to, if it's a business position, you might want to go review the Wall Street Journal to see if anything particular is happening in that industry. There are a myriad of ways that you can research the organization.
A few more things to keep in mind. As you prepare your resume, you want to stress how your talents and training meet the company needs. Based on the research that you will do using Connie's previous suggestions. Wherever you can, be specific about accomplishments, achievements. Use hard numbers, facts, and figures wherever it's applicable. The last stage of resume development: make sure the document is extremely easy to read and error-free.
The skills that employers seek are listed in this slide. There are 10 of them. The data was taken from the National Association of Colleges and Employers. Employers are looking for leaders. They want to see leadership skills. They want to know that you're able to work in a team environment. They want to know that you can communicate effectively, both verbally and in a written style. They like to see if you have problem-solving skills, a strong work ethic. For example, some of you think, well, I worked at McDonald's for the last 3 summers. That's not relevant. Well, it may be very relevant because it shows that you have worked hard and have been loyal to your employer. Any analytical or quantitative skills are important. Certainly technical skills, particularly if you're a science major, computer science, engineering. You want to highlight those. Your computer skills, specifically if the skills are unique to your industry, you've learned a certain program. They expect at this point, obviously, that you know how to use Microsoft, and they know that you know how to email and do those sorts of things. You also want to try to demonstrate initiative. Now, certainly, you're not going to have all of these skills in most cases, but look at the list and identify the ones that you do possess.
Once you've thought about the skills that you may possess, and feel free to use the list that we just shared with you. It'd be a great starting point. Then it's time to conduct some honest self-assessment. Honest self-assessment requires that you be fair to yourself and give yourself credit for things that you've done and learned along the way. Couple key questions. What skills have I developed? Looking at my skills, where are my strength areas to showcase? What, if any, accomplishments have I experienced along the way? And all of these will help you tremendously in answering the question, why should someone hire me? Keep that question in mind because it's something that you'll need to consider now, but definitely when you enter the interview phase of your search.
Okay, now it's time to look for a match. So you've developed a good understanding of your target employer or employers and the industry. So now you can begin to start to write your resume. You've identified the skills sought by the company and or employer. You've done an honest assessment of your own personal skill set. Now it's time to go out and make the match.
Now we're into the beginning of the phase of pulling things together in a document. Please keep 3 general format guidelines in mind. A resume for a traditional undergraduate college student is expected to be 1 page in length. There will be exceptions depending on your discipline. If you are in the sciences or going to go on to professional schools and things like that, the organizations may require what's called a curricula vitae, a CV. Now, the CV is a very, very different document with a lot of different guidelines, and it's also really a topic for another conversation. So, and we at the Career Center will be happy to work with you to decide which you want to use and how to follow the guidelines of the respective documents. Whenever you print your document or your resume, please use professional resume paper. Our university bookstore and any office supply store could definitely direct you in the right way to select the right paper. Keep the margins in your document to 1/2 to 1 inch. Following these basic guidelines will get the resume up to a really, I think, strong structural start.
And here are some guidelines for an effective resume layout. The basic sections should include your contact information, meaning your name, your telephone number, your email address. I would recommend you use your Scranton email address at this point. Next, you're going to want to list your education. You start with the most recent and work backwards. In most cases, it's really not necessary to put your high school down at this point, but we can discuss that with you. You may have transferred here from another school. We can discuss that with you as well, depending upon how long you were there, if it needs to be on the resume. Then you're going to include work experience and activities that you've participated in, both on campus and within your community. Additional sections may include an objective. For example, if you're applying to be an RA here at the University of Scranton, you might want to state that in an objective. If you've received any honors, belong to any honor societies, or have received awards, you want to highlight that in its own section. If you've developed leadership skills, you will also want to highlight that. Practical experience is different generally than work experience because practical experience is more parallel to your major or the industry you're applying to, perhaps an internship, some shadowing experience, something along those lines. And then finally, volunteer experience that you've had. Scranton, a cornerstone of a Scranton education is volunteering. So if you've had the opportunity to volunteer either here or back in your own home state, it's important to showcase that.
You'll definitely encounter some challenges along the way in pulling the resume together. First challenge you may encounter is how to organize the information into the correct format sections. Thinking of the previous slide where Connie highlighted all of the potential headings people may select to use in their resume can give you a good start or suggestions of how you might want to divide the content in your resume. And you want to do it in a very precise, organized manner. And what we'll do now is we will take a look at a sample to see how a student effectively formatted their resume. Emily Smith, an accounting major from Philadelphia, and she has her contact information indicated at the top of the resume. She has her street address, she has a phone, and an email. Keep in mind, the email, as Connie suggested, the Scranton email is a great format to use for now. First name dot last name at scranton.edu. In the future, you may need to open another account. I think it's great to use your name in the same format, first name dot last name at Gmail, at Yahoo, at any of the other mail service providers. An objective is an optional addition to a resume, if you are going to include it, it needs to be very targeted and very direct and concise. It should, name the position that you're looking for or the experience that you're seeking, and as your target. Emily, to obtain an internship in accounting for the spring of 2016, that's right on target. The next will be your education section, and the university should be the first line with the expected graduation date. The bachelor degree is indicated next, and the grade point average. We have many discussions with students about including a grade point average. If you have any question whatsoever about your grade point average and whether or not you should include it, please feel free to arrange a time to meet with us, and we'll be happy to discuss it with you. Honors and awards are included here for Emily, Dean's List, and the Women's Business Honor Society. We will talk, I think, in the next slide about some other items that you may want to consider putting in the education section if it's a part of your background. We'll talk more in a bit. The experience, the work history. Emily has done a great job at highlighting the transferable skills. All the skills that we've been talking about up to this point transfer nicely to professional positions. She got the most mileage she possibly could out of the tutor position, hostess, and shift leader at Sonic. Every bullet point has a strong action word as well as a key skill word listed there. She finished off by listing her activities, and she has a nice variety there. A business club, two business clubs, a dance team, and she participated in a service trip. This gives a nice, well-rounded picture of Emily's background.
You want to be sure to showcase any special achievements. For example, here at Scranton, we have SJLA, the Business Leadership Program, the Honors Program. It's important that you identify what these are, because we here at Scranton know what SJLA is, but readers from outside of our community might not know what that is. So you want to use one or two bullets to explain the prestige of this very challenging program. Same with the Honors Program, Business Leadership Program. If you've had the opportunity to study abroad, you certainly want to be sure to showcase that. Also, if you've had experiential learning experiences, for example, internships, summer jobs that relate to your industry or your job target, or if you've completed any undergraduate research, you want to make sure to highlight that. If you've held any campus leadership positions, such as resident assistant, orientation assistant, club officer, etc., again, you want to be sure to identify those with a bullet underneath explaining how competitive these positions are here at the University of Scranton. And again, if you've performed any community service, it should be showcased on your resume.
Looking at your early work history, especially if you're an early resume writer, first-time resume writer, the job descriptions need to be addressed very, very clearly. The structure of each job description would have, line by line, the employer's name followed by city and state, the dates of employment. The next line would be your job title, and the fourth bullet point there, and the key one, the transferable skills demonstrated. Think back to Emily's resume. The transferable skills demonstrated in each of the jobs need to be presented in a very, very energetic action statement, bullet by bullet. Some of the jobs that we commonly work with students that in the early stages of resume development are lifeguard, waiter, waitress, work study, camp counselor, cashier. These jobs are tremendous situations where transferable skills can be developed, and you as the resume writer need to identify them. A second challenge that comes along the way was capturing the ability to explain these experiences as a skill in a skill-based way. As I said earlier, make sure your description is clear and concise. I think for each action statement or skill statement for your jobs, I always work with students to make it one line in length. And so it could be a series of 3 or 4 bullets, capturing those. It also keeps it in a nice, neat format. Make sure your descriptions are skill-based. We've talked about that numerous times, and we've provided information in earlier slides of some of the skills that you really want to focus on. And now let's take a quick look on how a student has really presented well a couple of very, very common jobs.
In our first example here, it's at our office, the University of Scranton Center for Career Development, and it's a work-study position. Many of you who are listening to this have probably held work-study positions. It's not uncommon for students to meet with us for the first time and have a work-study position listed on their resume, and they might have a bullet, just one bullet stating answer phones and run errands. Well, as you can see, the way this example captures some very good transferable skills, interact professionally with students, faculty, and employers, handle phone traffic and scheduled appointments for 5 professional staff members. That's a more skill-based, appropriate way to identify what you performed at the job. You look under Rainbow Camp. Again, I'm certainly not going to read all of these, but for example, supported coworkers in implementing rules and regulations of the camp, etc. This tells the person reading your resume that you know how to work with a team, and it may prompt them to want to call you in for an interview and talk to you a little bit more.
A tool that we often use in working with students to help them in this process is to use what can be called like a who cares factor by answering these questions. What did you do? How did you do it? And why did you do it? In looking at that, answering these very simple questions, in my current position, I created spreadsheets using Microsoft Excel. Why did I do it? To manage a 200-person membership roster. Pulling it all together, a very action-oriented bullet can be created spreadsheets using Microsoft Excel to manage a 200-person membership roster.
And here are some things you most definitely want to avoid. Typos and inconsistency in format, not using proper tenses, etc. If a recruiter is reviewing a stack of 100 resumes or reviewing them online, certainly they have to find a way to start to eliminate some candidates. If you have typos on your resume, it's certainly going to be eliminated. So have several sets of eyes review your resume before you send it out. A lack of focus and clarity in content. I think we covered that quite clearly, that you really want to have a very targeted resume. Wordiness. You want to select your words carefully. The resume is not a big, long story of your life. It's a snapshot. A lack of key skill words. You want to use strong, robust action words when writing your resume. You want to always stay away from negative language on the resume, in the cover letter, in the interview, at any time in your professional life, as far as I'm concerned. A passive vocabulary. You want, as I said earlier, you want action words that show activity and development. Self-centeredness. You want to, when you're preparing your resume, you want to think about what can you bring to the employer, not what can they give to you. Irrelevant content. There's some things that as you go through your 4 years at the University of Scranton, some items will come off the resume and more relevant information will go on. That's where we in the Center for Career Development can really help you. And finally, misrepresentations. I can say in my career lifetime here, oftentimes I'll work with students and, for example, they'll have on their resume member of the business club. And when I probe them about that a little bit, they say, well, actually, I was only a member for 1 semester and I didn't go to any meetings. You can be sure if you have that on your resume, the first question the recruiter will ask you is, tell me about the goals and objectives of the business club and what happened in the past 3 meetings. And then you're going to be squirming in your seat and feeling very uncomfortable. So you don't want to get yourself in that situation.
Now that all the thinking and the hard work has been done, you want to customize your work. You want to customize your document and make it very, very memorable. I have a couple of suggestions here that might help you along the way with that. By thinking back to some of the lists that we've presented to you. In customizing your work, you want keep in mind the list of skills that employers are seeking and that your industry seeks. You want to keep in mind the headings, potential headings that Connie discussed that you want to select as you begin to build your resume. You will see that your resume will start to take a very individualized and customized look as you select those headings. And then the last stage, once you have all of the information collected in your document, you want to make it look as attractive as possible by using effective document enhancing features of the software that you're using. Effective use of bold type, italics, underlining, and bullets can really create a super sharp document that is customized and captures your skill set.
And finally, where should you go if you need resume help? Well, you need to come and visit us at the Center for Career Development in Chiswick Hall, which is right on Mulberry Street. Our phone number is 570-941-7640, and you can reach us at scranton.ed/careers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and please take advantage of our service.